be discussing about the Lesson 1, which is the development and use of non-digital or conventional instructional support materials. We all know that talking alone in front of the class in teaching a lesson won't cost an effective teaching. We all need instructional materials to support and enhance everyone's knowledge acquisition. Instructional materials are defined as print and non-print items that are listed to impact information to students in the educational process. Examples of instructional materials are drawings, kits, textbooks, posters, magazines, flip chart, newspapers, diorama, pictures, recording, videos, and the like. Instructional materials have several roles in teaching and learning, which include the following. They promote meaningful communication and effective learning. They ensure better retention, thus making learning more permanent. They help to overcome the limited classroom by making the inaccessible accessible. They provide a common experience upon which late learning can be developed. Lastly, they encourage participations, especially if the students are allowed to manipulate the materials used.
So in this topic, you will be able to know the importance and understand what instructional materials are for. So these materials are the supplementary materials which help the teacher to make his or her presentation concrete, effective, interesting, meaningful, and inspiring. In any teaching and learning process, instructional materials play a vital role as they provide sensory experiences to the learners. The primary aim of teaching materials is to provide the teachers the layout of the way for teaching in the classroom. And these materials is referred to any pre-existing materials that are being incorporated, as well as to those that will be specifically developed for the objectives. And here are also the several factors to consider in developing instructional materials. And number 1, develop a storyboard and working outline based on the subject goals and objectives. Number 2, identify existing institutional resources, including materials and teachers' capability. Number 3, the teacher may research off-the-shelf materials that have been developed by others to determine if their approach could be useful. Number 4, explore the possibility of adapting concepts of other teachers without infringing on anyone's copy-protected design. Number 5, modify existing materials based on the objectives of the lesson. Number 6, if the instructional materials are effective, you can share them with other teachers. And lastly, number 7, the teacher developer can also sell his materials available.
Diorama. Diorama, it will make the classroom to be creative and innovative. It is a fun way to build an exciting scene in a small space. Dioramas are small scenes created on layers of materials, all depicting a similar concept or theme. They usually display a historical time period, a nature scene, or a fictional situation.
Creating a diorama, you will create a concept or theme, research the subject, make a rough sketch of your ideal diorama. Lastly, make a list of items you will need and gather your supplies.
Nature table. This is a table that contains objects and or scenes related to the current season or upcoming festival or symbol of an ecosystem. Children love to follow the natural changes that the world offers each month, and classroom decorations reflect this. Next is writing board. A writing board can display information written with chalkboard or blackboard, or special pens for whiteboard. Although there are usually more effective methods of transmitting information, the writing board is still the most commonly used visual aid.
Keep the board clean.
Use chalk or pens that contrast to the background of the board so that students can see the information clearly.
Make text and drawing large enough to be seen from the back of the room.
Prepare complex drawings in advance. A very complex and overhead transparency or 35mm slide may be preferable.
Underline headings and important or unfamiliar words for emphasis.
Do not talk while facing the board.
Then, do not block the student's view of the board. Stand aside when writing or drawing is complete.
Lastly, allow sufficient time for students to copy the information from the board. Number 4 is flip chart. It is a large tablet or pad of paper, usually on tripod or stand. Here are the suggestions in using flip chart. First, use wide depth pens or markers. Markers with narrow tips for those printing that is difficult to read. Second, print in block letters that are large enough to be read easily from the back of the room. Third, use different colored pens to provide contrast. This makes the pages visually attractive and easier to read. Fourth, use headings, boxes, cartons, and borders to improve the appearance of the page. 6. Leave plenty of white space and avoid putting too much information on one page. 7. When pages are prepared in advance, use every other page. If every page is used, colors will shoot through and make text difficult to read. To hide a portion of the page, fold up the lower portion of the page and tape it. When ready to reveal the information, remove the tape and let the page drop.
Face the student, not the flip chart while talking.
So next is number 5, the zigzag board. So zigzag board is referred to a multi-board series of 3 or 4 rectangular boards. They are joined together along the sides by hinges so that they can be easily folded up and carried. Each board can be of a different type, for example, a whiteboard, a chalkboard, a flannel board, and so on. The size of the boards for the zigzag multi-board depends on what you want to use them for. Next is a number 6, the wall display. We all know that displaying items on a classroom wall is a well-known, tried and tested educational method. However, a wall display is a collection of many different types of items and materials put up on a wall to make an interesting and informative display. In a classroom, the display can consist of the student's own work and development work. It can be used to convey information to the community. And lastly is a number 7, the rope and pole display board. So this board consists of 2 parallel horizontal poles tied loosely together with rope. Visual aids such as posters can be pinned to the rope. This kind of display board is invaluable where there are few solid walls for displaying information. It has no solid backing and can be made quickly for teaching, training, and when working with communities. And here are guidelines when designing conventional instructional materials. Number 1. Unity. Use only one idea for each visual aid and include a headline. Number 2. Simplicity. Make ideas and relationships simple and easy to recall. Avoid cluttering a visual with too many words, numbers, or graphics. The audience should be able to grasp the concept in 10 to 15 seconds. Number 3. Legibility. Make letters big and readable for all in the audience. Number 4 is the consistency. Use the same type, style, and art style. And lastly, number 5, clarity. Avoid type that is too small to read and avoid all caps.